should see slide 2 on the screen. I want to make sure we overview what the purpose of this report was, because over the couple months we've been there has been some misperceptions about what we were hired to do. We were hired to assess the Tri-County region's current economic development framework, not one institution. We were looking at all the elements of the community economic development value chain, one of which is the EDC and the Heartland Partnership. So I want to make sure that that's clear. The purpose of that was to create a general set of findings. 2 was to compare community economic development performance against best practices at a regional level that have been pretty well documented across the country, and then assess the regional level of community economic development collaboration against collaboration best practices. So that's where we are in this preliminary report. The final report that we will do at the end of April, early May, will be what are our specific recommendations. And at the end of this report, I think it's on page 19, we actually list some of the things that we'll be looking at as part of those recommendations. So that's what we'll be doing. This is what we'll be doing today. The general summary of findings, comparing against best practice community economic development for regions, and comparing against best practices in collaboration. I want to first start off with what we see as pretty positive, because your region has a lot of assets, and when we came in to the region, there were perceptions on both the private sector and the public sector side that there might be significant disagreement as to what the issues are, and that there might be significant conflict there. We did not find that, although there's consternation. We think that based on the surveys now that we've done and the interviews we've done, there is a broad base of support across a wide spectrum of leadership for meaningful regional collaboration and the need for it, and the fact that it's not where it needs to be. Maybe better than what it was in the past, but it needs to be go to the next level. So we believe that there is a sense of common purpose among the public, private, and nonprofit leaders as to where the region needs to go. There may be some concerns and conflicts over how, but there seems to be a common purpose about where we need to go. One of the most significant new things that clearly is an investment by the EDC and the Heartland Partnership is the regional scorecard, which provides a benchmark for regional improvement. There are not a lot of regions that have them. We have worked in many of the regions that do have them, and as I've discussed with Vicki Clark and with Dave Parkinson and with Terry Colbus, we believe that the benchmarks that you've established in the scorecard create a really valuable tool for educating the region as to where they are in terms of peer groups and aspirational groups. But even more importantly, this scorecard will become an integral piece of the sets and the way in which we look at defining goals. The scorecard will be one of 3 elements that we will use to help the region break those scorecard elements down to the county level and for the regional level, so that as you set goals for the SEDS and the comprehensive economic strategy, the region's actually proactively influencing where you want the scorecard to be in 5 years. So we think that's significant. We see that the region recognizes the need for better alignment of all the community economic development resources, and that there is an acknowledgement of the need to build regional community economic development capacity at the leadership level. One of the things that we have witnessed as we've gone across the region is that there are any number of leaders we've met with individually and as groups that talk about what they're concerned about in an organization they may sit on the board of, and about the decisions that may have been made by that organization. But they were part of that decision, part of that board, and the decisions that were made, they didn't even have a framework for evaluating whether they were good decisions or not. It wasn't that they weren't good board members. It was that their capacity around this subject area had not been built sufficiently to enable them to become a better and more informed leader. So we believe that's going to be something that it's part of our key recommendations moving forward. There seems to be a common understanding of the need for clear metrics, transparency, and accountability. And there's certainly lots of valuable, broad, and deep assets to leverage. And before I go on to explore what some of the best practices, I do want to comment specifically with regard to the Heartland Partnership and the EDC. When we originally came into the region, Dave Parkinson and Jim McConaughey made it very clear to everybody that we were going to meet within the EDC and the Heartland Partnership that this was a collaborative effort, and that was done again by Jim at the Economic Summit. And I must say that at no time, and you all as a board should know this, at no time do we feel that we have ever been blocked or that anybody in your staffs or on your board was not encouraged to give clear and open feedback to us. So I, want to thank you at a board level and executive level, and to thank Jim and Vicki and Dave and the whole team there for making this an open process. I think that only leads to more positive outcomes going forward. And any questions about these opportunities? Otherwise, we can go to slide 4. Actually, slide 5. What I'm going to do now is before we've actually created a scorecard for you all, not for you all, for the region regarding community economic development best practices. And I'm going to go through, there are 10 best practices for regional collaboration, and I will go through each of these, and then we'll go through 2 slides that will be on slides 7 and 8 that speak to change management and balanced approach, so there's clear understanding what we mean by those 2 things, and then we'll get to the scorecard for this particular area. Number 1 is regional collaboration. And there's a definition there that it's meaningful, sustainable, grassroots-based, and it cuts across all sectors. And I'll talk about, when we get to the scorecard, what we found in those areas. In terms of leadership excellence, which is number 2, there is an empowerment of proactive leadership that takes ownership of their economy and grows leaders with accountability, authority, legitimacy, and transparency. And this is a weaker area in the region that we feel needs to be addressed. Change management. There are 8 steps for managing change. And if we quickly flip over to slide 7, I'll just go through those with you. It has been found across business and many organizations that if you don't follow these 8 steps, you're not going to get the results you need, and you're not going to get the engagement. And basically, we evaluate regions to determine whether regional efforts are establishing a sense of urgency that everybody buys into, that they're forming powerful guiding coalitions to rally around that sense of urgency, that those guiding coalitions create a vision, they communicate the vision to a broader audience, they empower others to act on that vision, they plan for and create and communicate short-term wins, and then they consolidate improvements and produce more change, and then institutionalize those new approaches. When we're evaluating change management, we're evaluating against those 8 points within a region. Number 4 is the balanced approach. And this is where we look at determining whether both economic development as well as education and workforce development assets have been aligned with the private sector to build effective knowledge-based economic, human capital, and quality-of-place centers of excellence. And if you go to slide 8, there's a graphic there that depicts the things we are looking for in a balanced approach, all premised upon an innovation and entrepreneurship climate. The blue area of economic resilience is the typical area that economic development organizations focus on. The green area, quality of place, is something a lot of organizations talk about, a lot of regions talk about, but they don't often fully integrate quality of place assets into the strategy. And then in the red area, human capacity development, that's everything that has to do with developing your workforce to its fullest potential and those that should be coming into that workforce. So again, we'll be evaluating that item number number 4, balanced approach based on what we show in that chart. Number 5 is an asset-based approach, and I want to differentiate for those of you who may not be familiar with asset-based versus needs-based. Needs-based approaches to economic development are what about 90% of organizations in this country do. And they basically focus on their deficits and create appeals for resources and funds and assets to help them deal with those deficits. Only about 10% of organizations are moving towards the asset-based approach, which we've been practicing for about 20 years. It is the primary approach that the EDA is moving all organizations to and emphasizing as our most best practice organizations. And that basically focuses on identifying, connecting, and leveraging both tangible and intangible assets that you have in your region that are unique and enable you to grow and transform your economy. Too often times, the assets are looked at as physical or infrastructure assets or industrial assets, as opposed to your cultural assets, your knowledge assets, healthcare assets, your educational assets, all of those elements that actually build quality of place. When we look at the old SEDS that you all have in your region, there's limited focus on quality of life there, which would have been the practice back 5 or 6 years ago. If you go to page 6, top, this is 6 through 10 now. One of the things we look for are measurable outcomes, whether the region is employing measurable benchmarks, whether they're using SMART goals, which for those of you in the region who work for Caterpillar, you know that's a mantra that goes throughout that organization, that the goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound, and that they're connected to the goals, the strategies, and the action plans, and that you're actually measuring the outcomes in the context of that. 7 is the region innovation driven? Does it have an innovation ecosystem and not just incubators? Is there a lasting climate of a regional climate of opportunity, entrepreneurship, risk-taking, and innovation? And this just doesn't have to do with the economic development organization. It has to do with the community in general. It has to do with the governments that are part of that community and the institutions that are there. In terms of life cycle finance, which is number 8, life cycle financing looks at the entire lifespan of individual companies, from the time that they are seed to startup to emerging to growth and to mature stages. At each stage of that development of a company or an organization, there are different types of financing, both debt and equity, that are supplied by different types of organizations generally. And the regions that are most successful are the ones that have put together a life cycle finance that ushers a company that's a startup or a seed state or an emerging growth stage across those various stages without having to leave the region to go find those resources. And that's one of the things we look for. Number 9 is, does the region have an effective brand promise? Does it define, create, and communicate and deliver on that brand promise that will promote and sustain its regional competitive advantages? Oftentimes in regions, people get confused between brand and name or idea. A brand really evokes a voice, it evokes a promise of what that region will offer and how it delivers it. And people experience that in real time, and organizations experience it. practice organizations have that brand promise very clearly delineated. And finally, number 10 is, does the region have a regional transformation mindset? And that is composed of several elements. First of all, does it link community and economic development into a comprehensive strategy? Does it view economic development as a journey that is a marathon, not a sprint? Probably 90 to 95% of economic development organizations and regions we work with are looking at projects and looking at initiatives as opposed to looking at a long-term journey of how a region is going to develop, and that it's transformative and not just incremental. So those are the 10 points that we're evaluating. Any questions about those before I go to the scorecard? Okay, I will go to the scorecard, which is on slide 9. And on the left side are the 10 best practices. On the middle column is the rating that we gave to each of those 10. The white balls, we call these Hardy balls, is weak to none. Down at the bottom of the page, you'll see the schedule that tells you what these mean. So if that circle is quarter filled with black, it's below average. If it's half, it's average. If it's 3/4, it's good. And if it's full, it's strong. You'll notice that we have a number of goose eggs here on this evaluation. In terms of regional collaboration, if we go on the right-hand side is that highlighted area. We see regional collaboration as more of an expressed desire than a current reality. But we see a real commitment by leadership that there needs to be a better reality in the current state, more than just a desire. And we've seen that in interviews throughout the region. In terms of leadership excellence, we believe this is very weak. Not that you don't have good leaders. We believe that leadership has not had their community economic development expertise and knowledge enhanced, whether they're sitting on a workforce network board or whether they're sitting on a county board or a local economic development organization or on the EDC or on the Heartland Partnership. We think there's a significant need to upgrade the skills of the people in leadership in this area. In terms of change management, we could not find any indication that people had a sense of urgency, and even if they had one, whether anybody even agreed to it. And that's the core and foundation of even getting through the process of managing change. In terms of the balanced approach, you have a lot of assets that are coming in place. There's a clear recognition when you all are investing heavily in things like the museum complex with the major expansions in the zoo, the byways project. There are any number of asset areas that you all have been focusing on. Clearly, the healthcare area is clearly a focus on education. But those systems are not really fully integrated into an economic development strategy. And the reason we feel this is so important is because it's much easier to move workers than work. And knowledge workers, regardless of whether you're in agricultural, industrial work, finance work, healthcare, or education, knowledge workers can choose to be anywhere. And they're going to choose to be in those areas that have the best balanced approach to create the communities they want to live in and work in. And there needs to be a much more targeted focus on that. And I can tell you that the EDA and a number of federal agencies are moving organizations much more down that road now. There does not, in terms of asset-based approach, we don't see any real evidence of real knowledge of what asset-based development is about. We don't see any real knowledge or existence of processes and tools to help people, and we don't see any asset-based plans that are present. In terms of measurable outcomes, and I know this can be a sore point with some people, but we dug pretty hard. And we don't see any any measurable outcomes, except in a few local economic development organizations. We say them probably one of the best measurable outcome strategy that is connected to economic development, but is not economic development that we've seen across the country, is the Peoria County Strategic Plan. We think it's one of the best examples of government organizations really using benchmarks, using measurable outcomes to manage their strategic direction. In terms of innovation, we've given that the highest score of anything we gave because there are a number of assets that have been put in place, and a lot of that driven by your organizations. But the innovation climate in the region is really weak, and the assets that exist are not connected into an innovation ecosystem. And the other thing that I think is really important is that there isn't an atmosphere that we can find where emerging entrepreneurs are able to come together through meetups and things of that nature in very automatic ways through crowdsourcing mechanisms, which in the best innovation climates in this country, there's a much greater movement in those areas. So we think that's an area that needs to be worked on. In terms of life cycle finance, as Dave Parkinson and I have talked about, there are the beginnings of those pieces with the venture capital network that you put in place, the angel network you put in place. There are various elements that the local governments have, and certainly there are instruments that the state has. But even the ones you have, we do not believe are at the capacity level they need to be, nor are they fully integrated into a life cycle system. We think you have, again, we've given you an average mark in the regional brand promise. We think you all are moving in the right direction in that regard, and are beginning to get some things in place. The byways campaign is pretty interesting and we think pretty well done. And mindset transformation, we see this as a large gap. So many people we interviewed who expressed a real interest in positive economic development are really looking at economic development as a project and looking at it as an initiative and not a system and not a long-term journey. And that's got to change in order for things to move forward positively and productively. So this is the assessment on the 10 best practices. Let me go back to the areas of collaboration. We talked about recognize and accept the need for collaboration. Number two let me go back to number one. One of the things that you look for, whether the structural, procedural, financial, and professional barriers have been identified and minimized where feasible that exist in a collaboration. Number two, understands and respects partners' capabilities and limits. And I will tell you that there was not good grades in this area because in our interviews with almost 300 people across the region, I would say that the level of respect for people's capabilities or organizational capabilities or an appreciation for their weaknesses and how they could be shored up by others was not strong. The executive commitment and ownership of collaboration. We had a lot of executives that we talked to said they understood the need for it, but not how to achieve it. And so it was tough for them to have ownership of collaboration across the region without really understanding what made it, how it worked, and whether you knew if you knew what you had when it was present. Number four is that there are clear working relationships and lines of accountability with clear simple terms of engagement, with clear decision-making processes, where the roles, responsibilities, and lines of accountability must be clear. And this goes back to a statement I said earlier about the fact that there's so much confusion about who's responsible for what and what each other is capable of doing. Number five is that goals and outcomes must be clear and transparent. You can't collaborate on something if the team doesn't know what what it is you're collaborating on and how it's going to be measured. 6 is using effective, accurate, consistent, open, and clear communications. And I want to differentiate between marketing what you do to prove you're a good organization or to say that you're a wonderful community versus having clear reporting and clear communication within the organization and externally that says what you're doing and how you're doing. That just doesn't appear to be very prevalent from what we can see. Develops and maintains trust. And as I said in my interviews repeatedly in the region, if you don't have goals and you don't, that people understand, and you don't have a common vision, it's tough to have collaboration. It's tough to build trust because you don't know what to trust it in. So trust is the basis of all working relationships. And then number 8 is measures, monitors, learns, and adapts. That there's an evaluation and review that is integral to the management process, and that all the parties that are part of this process understand what that is and how each of them learns and adapts and monitors. Any questions about those points on slide 13? Okay. Slide 14 is our evaluation of the 8 best practices. The best grade was below average on recognize and accept the need for collaboration. We did that because we felt there was a widespread acceptance that there was a need for collaboration, but we clearly were requested to come in because one of our areas of expertise is building collaboration in regions that are weak at it, and that's one of the things they asked us to evaluate. So we found that, and I will tell you that oftentimes that level when we go to a region is in the weak stage because there isn't a recognition. So I'd say that you guys have, this is a foundation off of which to build. This area of understanding and respecting partner contributions, we believe, is significantly below average. There's an awful lot of, as I've said, some interviews. One of the things I find most intriguing about your region is that many individuals at a leadership level who sit on boards will tell us things that need to change, tell us problems they're having with that particular organization or leadership in that organization, and those issues have never been brought up in board meetings or committee meetings, and the people involved aren't aware of them. Yet they will tell us and others outside of those forums. And I've often said that, or periodically said recently, that if the elite principles of speaking truth with love to individuals and organizations was practiced more broadly across the region, you will have a basis, a much wider basis for trust and collaboration between the organizations that are working with each, supposed to work with each other. Executive commitment and ownership is not strong. There are really, the working relationships are not clear between the organizations. And this gets down to, even if you look at an organization like the Workforce Network, or any other organization, we've talked to a number of the organizations that sit on those boards. I can't tell you how many organizations we talk to that belong to a board who believe that they sit there because they represent a particular interest, but they're not fully integrated into the strategic planning or thinking. Now, that also requires proactive effort on their part, but that's pretty broad-based. We're here to represent it. We were invited to the board because that checked off a list. And this includes going down to the diversity within your community, whether we're meeting with members of the Black business community, the Asian business community, the women-owned business community, Hispanic community. There's not a real feeling that there's a lot of intention that different groups be brought into the process so that the assets that they have can be best leveraged and work with each other. And we go down the chart, we get weaker and weaker in terms of clear and transparent measures, effective communication, this whole area of trust, and measures, monitors, learns, and adapts. Now, I believe very strongly that, and so does Steve Martin and other members of our team who haven't been in your region but have been looking at research for us, that you all have, even though these grades are not great, you have a basis for moving forward. You have significant assets in the region. There's a recognition of the need to move to the next stage, and we recognize that changes have been made in the last 10 years. We weren't there 10 years ago. We weren't there 5 years ago. We're only here where we are now, and we have to give you a grade as we see it based on where you are today. So I'll stop talking about this and see if you have any questions about these particular grades on collaboration.
Frank, I want to clarify something that I'm not sure I understood before, and that is there was an earlier question about, are we getting graded against the average community in the United States, or are we getting graded against best practices? And
we're getting graded against best practices.
Thank you.
If the average communities in this country were at best practice, our economy would be in much better shape nationally.
It's easier to swallow saying you're getting a bad grade against a best practice
yes.
than it is to say you're getting a bad grade against an average community.
Right.
It's kind of
right. Well, I presume that we were brought in not because you wanted to be average, but you wanted to really be best.
Yes, you're right.
And what's very interesting about slide 14, if you go to slide 15, which I think really somewhat stunned us when we got this response, there were about 92, we had a question about barriers and challenges to moving forward in the region. And what we found really interesting is, of the top four ones that were identified by these 92 respondents, by far the number one issue was lack of collaboration, cooperation, and parochialism. Number two was the lack of a strategic vision. Interesting, the state of Illinois business climate, although a little better than 10%, was still only number three, and then the issues with the workforce were number four. So three of the four areas identified by 92 respondents are within the region's control. So that, again, this survey in some ways validates what we saw in the interview process. There's just two things I want to show you. There are, one of the ways that we have found to build better collaboration across a region is that teaching organizations, committees that are responsible for strategies or actions, if you teach them to use what we call the 3 C's, that every action they take is intended to build collaboration between resources across the region that have typically not been connected together but should be. Two, that they use connectivity not only in mindset but in broadband and other assets to connect those resources together, so geography is not a barrier to collaboration. And three, that the collaboration actually changes spending. It reduces the cost within the value chain cycle, or it increases access to revenue. And when you apply these three principles to actions that are taken at a board level or at a committee level, we find the collaboration, real collaboration, starts to get built very, very strongly across the region. And if that's confusing in terms of the way I describe it, I'll be more than happy to share with you examples of how that works. In terms of slide 17, which will be the next slide, I put this in here because this is the way we look at how SMART goals get built and managed. If you start at the bottom of the page on slide 17, where a regional economic vision is created that is achievable, believable, and transforming, the next step is to establish benchmarks, which is essentially what your scorecard does for where you are today. And then what you do is you establish where you want to get to in terms of accomplishments between the benchmarks and the vision. And then you set goals to get there. You set to realize that difference between the benchmarks and where you want to be. You set strategies in place, or what some may call objectives, and then you put actions in place. And all actions are measured and tied back to enable a strategy or an objective, enable the goal, enable the vision. So basically, if you use the discipline of making sure that your goals, strategies, or objectives and action plans connect back to the vision in measurable ways, and everybody that's playing a role in managing that action or that strategy or objective or a goal knows exactly how they're going to impact that vision and have the ability to own it. So hopefully that gave you, there are tools that can be used to actually implement best practices in terms of goal setting, in terms of collaboration, and we believe very strongly that in knowledge transfer, which is a key culture in our organization, we believe very strongly that if you develop your board members, you develop your committee members, learning how to do these things, they can take these tools back into their own organization, into their own individual lives, improve themselves and their organizations, while also improving the economy. So there's a win-win all the way around, and it's just not sitting on a committee. Okay, any questions before I get to the recommendations? Because I think we're up against my 45-minute limit. We have a series of recommendations that we have made or that we've begun to make. We'll be concluding these at the end of the month. We believe one of the answers to this is to get to, this is slide 19, to a grassroots-led, asset-based, comprehensive, measurable, multi-year community economic development strategy for the multi-county region. The only reason I say multi-county is there's still a question, as Vicki noted, do we have 3 counties? Do we have 4 counties? What do we have that we're working with for this strategy? And that'll be resolved pretty soon. But the components of that would be a regional strategy that is informed by individual county goals, assets, and priorities, so that the counties know what their goals are in the context of a regional strategy. They know what their assets are. They know what their priorities are in the context of the overall region. And secondly, we recommended that the SEDS be integrated with the HUD sustainability work, comprehensive planning. You also have the LISC organization that's come into play. And I've been talking to Jim Baumgartner about making sure that that's integrated in with all these efforts so that we're leveraging all these assets together. We've also, with Broadband Illinois, been in conversation with them to make sure that the Broadband Illinois initiatives that are beginning with E-teams in your region are fully integrated with this effort. Number 3 is to build regional leader capacity for effective collaboration, asset-based community economic development. We're going to be recommending the implementation of a leadership development program around these core competency areas, and we'd like to find a way to embed that capability within the region long term so that as new leaders come along, people in committees come along, they're learning this process in every organization. We have talked with the Workforce Network about the creation of a Workforce Center of Excellence that is collaborated on by the various economic development organizations and the workforce assets to address the real workforce gaps that are there. We are recommending that we take a hard look at making sure there's a fully connected innovation ecosystem that spurs innovation in your region, and not just isolated incubator assets, including the one that's supposed to be dealt with under the HUD Sustainability Grant. We we have recommended the establishment of a sustainable, multidisciplined regional data center of excellence that integrates workforce data, all kinds of economic and demographic data, comprehensive planning data into a one center that is linked back to all the other organizations so that that information is widely available and fully integrated. And that it's licensed in such a way out that the individual organizations and towns across the region have a much more affordable access to best practice data in an integrated way. And that includes GIS mapping as well. And next is to develop and improve public-private framework for growing the regional economy, working with the existing organizations to do that. And then getting the area to invest in managing community economic development as a journey of transformation and not a time-limited project. So those are our initial recommendations based on the work we've done, and we are continuing to work towards detailed definition of those. I think, Dave, I have concluded my comments.